While Michael recreates many of the iconic moments audiences would expect from a biopic, it also offers surprising insight into who Michael Jackson was as a person. From the realities of his childhood home and family dynamics, to the creative habits, eccentricities, and personal relationships that shaped him behind the scenes, the film is filled with subtle touches that go far beyond surface-level recreation, many of which may have gone unnoticed on first viewing. So here are the most fascinating real-life details included in Michael that you may not have even noticed while watching, and what they reveal about the man behind the legend. Here's the detail. At the beginning of the film, when it depicts life in Gary, Indiana, and the humble beginnings of the Jackson 5, the movie recreates the real home in which the family lived, a modest two-bedroom, single-story house positioned on Jackson Street. Fittingly enough, the film conveyed just how cramped the living conditions were by depicting the three-tiered bunk beds the boys slept in, with all 6 brothers in one bedroom in 2 three-tiered bunk beds. Catherine and Joseph occupied the second bedroom, while Janet, Latoya, and Rebby, until she left home to marry at 18, slept on a pull-out sofa in the living room. In these early scenes, the children are shown calling their father Joseph, reflecting his real-life preference that they not call him Dad or Father.
And he didn't allow us to call him Daddy, and I wanted to call him Daddy so bad. He said, "I'm not Daddy, I'm Joseph to you," you know?
Did you want it, or because he was so respectful? I mean, how?
Well, I didn't too much care because he knew and I knew that he was my son and I was his father.
Well, you had all those kids running, hollering around and hollering, "Dad, Dad, Dad," you know, it gets to be, sounds kind of funny to me, but I didn't care too much about what they called me, just as long as they was able to listen to me and what I had to tell them, you know, in order to make their life successful. That was the main thing.
The film also touches on Joseph's abusive tendencies, including the emotional torment he inflicted on his children, most notably when he casually refers to Michael as Big Nose, a cruel nickname Michael later said stayed with him for years and deeply shaped his self-image growing up.
Father would tease you about your
Yes, he would tell me I'm ugly.
My father would say,
Yes, he would.
And Joseph told me, "Oh, you're so black," or "You have such a big nose." He told you you were black? Yes, when I was little. "You are so black. You don't look like my child. Your nose is so big and this and that." They used to call me Big Nose. Yeah.
Is it true that your father used to say you had a fat nose?
Yeah.
What did he say? What did he actually say?
"God, your nose is big. You didn't get it from me."
What does that do to someone who's going through adolescence?
You want to die.
The earliest musical scenes depict the beginnings of the Jackson 5, with the first song shown being Big Boy, the group's debut single released through Steeltown Records before their discovery by Motown Records. The film also includes the detail that, as the group was being positioned for stardom, Motown instructed Michael to lie about his age, to say he was 8 rather than 10 because 8 was cuter and more marketable to audiences. It's a telling moment that illustrates how early Michael learned that in show business, the importance of image, and that it could be manufactured and shaped for your commercial advantage.
My name is Carl Grigsby, and I'd like to direct my question to Michael Jackson. Michael, how old were you when you did that first special with Diana Ross?
About 9. Yeah. Thanks a lot.
Altogether, the film goes to great lengths to establish the harsh reality of the Jacksons' early life and the pressure cooker environment that forged a group destined for fame. Throughout the film, there are constant references to Michael Jackson's biggest inspirations, beginning with James Brown. We see a young Michael watching Brown perform on television and imitating his signature drop-split dance move, something Michael later confirmed in interviews as a key influence on his own stagecraft.
I dance a lot anyway. I've always loved to dance. When I was just real little, I used to watch James Brown and just dancing about the house. So I don't remember not dancing. I think James Brown is a genius, you know. When he's with the famous Flame, just unbelievable. And I used to watch him on television, And I used to get angry at the cameraman because whenever he would really start to dance, it would be on a close-up and I couldn't see his feet. So I would throw things, I'd be angry. I said, show him, so I could watch and learn.
Other inspirations highlighted include Fred Astaire, whom Michael references during the filming of the Thriller video.
Fred Astaire once really gave me a wonderful compliment. He says that I was a wonderful dancer and that he watched me all the time. And I admire him so much, God.
As well as Charlie Chaplin, particularly Chaplin's masterpiece Modern Times, which Michael often cited as a creative influence on his own work. In one scene, Michael is depicted singing Chaplin's song Smile, a track he would later cover himself and repeatedly described as his favorite song of all time.
I think there are some people here who might just want to have a word with you.
The film also offers insight into Michael's creative process, depicting his habit of covering walls and mirrors with post-it notes filled with affirmations and manifestations of his goals, reflecting his belief that in order to become something, you first have to believe it and speak it into existence. In one scene, Michael Jackson confides in John Branca about his ambition to become the biggest superstar in the world and the kind of public persona he wanted to cultivate. He explains that he did not want to give press interviews or overexpose himself publicly, preferring instead to maintain an air of mystery around him. This depiction aligns closely with notes Michael wrote during that period, in which he outlined a deliberate desire to craft his image with mystique and careful control. Like this one written on November 6, 1979 during the Jackson's Destiny Tour, mere months before the beginning of the decade that would define him as a superstar. Quote, MJ will be my new name. No more Michael Jackson. I want a whole new character, a whole new look. I should be a totally different person. People should never think of me as the kid who sang ABC, I Want You Back. I should be a new, incredible actor, singer, dancer that will shock the world. I will do no interviews. I will be magic. I will be a perfectionist, a researcher, a trainer, a master. I will be better than every great actor roped in one. I must have the most incredible training system to dig and dig and dig until I find I will study and look back on the whole world of entertainment and perfect it, take it steps further from where the greatest left off. During the recording scenes, the film shows Michael asking Quincy Jones to lower the studio lights while he recorded vocals, mirroring the real-life practice he preferred so he could focus entirely on the resonance of his voice and the emotion of the performance without visual distractions. It also references his tendency to move and tap his feet excessively while recording, a habit shown even in his childhood scenes, and something Quincy Jones famously noted when discussing sessions with him as an adult. Finally, the film highlights Michael's relentless perfectionism. After his performance of Billie Jean at Motown 25, while everyone backstage is celebrating what they know to be a historic moment, Michael is shown disappointed that the toast stand did not last as long as he wanted. This aligns with long-standing accounts that despite the performance becoming legendary, Michael was upset afterwards and reportedly cried because he felt he had let people down by not delivering it perfectly. Throughout the film, many of the key figures behind the scenes in Michael Jackson's life are also referenced and portrayed. The most prominent among them include Bill Bray, his longtime personal bodyguard, Quincy Jones, his trusted musical collaborator and producer, and John Branca, his personal attorney and legal advisor. For hardcore fans, the film is packed with blink-and-you-miss-it appearances from figures central to Michael's career, including Frank DeLeo, who was depicted during his time as an executive at Epic Records, before later becoming Michael's personal manager. The film also includes people such as Bruce Swedian, the studio engineer who worked on many of Michael's landmark albums, director John Landis, who helmed the Thriller short film, and special effects makeup artist Rick Baker, whose work was integral to the video's iconic transformation scenes. The film further nods to members of Michael's live touring circle, including guitarist Jennifer Batten and a young Sheryl Crow, whose first major professional break came as a backing vocalist on the Bad Tour. The movie also highlights several of Michael's more unusual close companions, his many beloved animals, Most prominently featured is Bubbles the chimpanzee, who appears throughout multiple scenes, alongside Muscles the snake, another pet Michael was notably fond of and often photographed with in interviews and public appearances. Other animals included are his giraffe and Louis the llama, whom Michael was particularly attached to during the early 1980s. In one memorable detail, the film even depicts Michael walking Louis down the street outside his home in Encino, California, something he was genuinely known to do, to the bemusement of passing motorists who would witness the world's biggest pop star casually strolling alongside a llama. One particularly thoughtful detail the makeup department paid attention to was the small mole, or possible acne scar, Michael Jackson had on the side of his face from the late 1970s through to the mid-1980s. It is accurately recreated in the earlier portions of the film, and then subtly removed or disguised later on, reflecting how it disappeared from Michael's appearance over time, whether through cosmetic treatment or makeup. However, some of the film's most effective details are not cosmetic at all. They serve to foreshadow darker themes of dependency, exploitation, and burnout. Following the Pepsi accident sequence, the film shows Michael in hospital visiting another severely burned patient recovering on the ward. This moment is based on real-life photographs of Michael visiting fellow burn victims during his recovery, with the patient depicted bearing a striking resemblance to the individual seen in those original images. The film also references Michael's decision to donate the entirety of his Pepsi settlement, approximately $1.5 million, to the hospital, funds which helped establish the Michael Jackson Burn Center. Importantly, the movie depicts Michael initially resisting pain medication after the accident, reluctant to rely on it despite the severity of his injuries. In hindsight, this moment carries clear dramatic foreshadowing, given the prescription drug dependency that would later become one of the most tragic and defining struggles of his adult life, profoundly affecting both his health and his eventual death. Ultimately, the greatest achievement of Michael may not be its headline recreations or major dramatic set pieces, but the way it uses small, almost throwaway details to gradually build a fuller portrait of Michael Jackson as a person. Not just the global superstar the world knew, but the complicated, eccentric, obsessive, and vulnerable man behind the legend. The detail is dedicated to uncovering the real stories behind Michael Jackson's life and career. If you enjoy these deep dives, consider subscribing